Good morning, sweet dreamers. I had some interesting dreams. The first dream I remember, it was at this house, and Joe Rogan came over to do a podcast with me about a very strange instrument I had. And this instrument was like nothing I've ever seen in real waking life. It was, I forgot what they're called, but there are these little wooden things, and then they've got strings on them, so it's kind of harp sounding, but not quite. Usually get them pretty cheap for children and stuff. So it was a cross between that and my hand pan. It was instead of being a small child-sized one of these things, it was quite large actually, and it was made out of metal instead of wood. It had strings across it, and it was narrow at the base, and it got wider and wider. And then on the sides there was some metal notes like on a hand pan, and so you would tap it like you tap a hand pan on the side. You could also do the strings, but tapping on the side would activate the strings with the vibration. So you would get a tapping sound and the vibration, and if you did it enough, the vibration would build, and it was really, really cool, and it was so fun to play. So he came over and did a podcast about this, and hand pans are totally podcast worthy anyway. They're an instrument that have only been around for, I don't know, like 35 or so years, give or take a couple of years. And I was playing my hand pan before bed, so I'm not too surprised I had a dream about it. This is the funniest part. So Joe Rogan had to leave because I was farting so much, and the farts were so horrendous that no one could be in the room. Yep. I had pretty bad gas last night, so probably snuck in my dreams. I think he made some pretty funny jokes about it. Oh, and I remember this. I guess, according to this dream, Joe Rogan is a big fan of Oregon Country Fair, and he always goes to Oregon Country Fair and walks around at night, and he wears a mask so no one would recognize him. I don't know. Oh, that sun is really intense. Maybe I'm just gonna scoot back a little bit. So the other dream I had, I was gonna go on this little road trip, and the person that was driving was my best friend's mother, and it was my best friend from back when I was like 7 or 8. And my friend was about that age. She was probably, I don't know, she wasn't maybe that young, but she couldn't have been older than 11 or 12. And one of her older brothers was there, and I was there, the same age I am now, and my lover was there, and the three of us, myself, my former childhood best friend, and her brother were all sitting in the back seat. My friend's mother was driving, and my lover was sitting in the passenger front seat. And we were driving. We had to get somewhere to pick something up, and I had to stop to pee. So it's like, hey, you guys, as soon as it's convenient, I need you to stop and pee. Or even if we don't find a place that's convenient soon, then I'm going to have to find a place that's inconvenient. That's exactly what I said. So we drove around, and then it came, like we weren't driving on the highway anymore. It had gotten more and more country, and we were driving through the forest, and we found this church out in the middle of nowhere, and it was this really basic looking, very old, like from, I don't know, probably the 1920s, 30s, or 40s church. There's a lot of those out here, out in the country, and it's just out in the middle of nowhere, had this little gravel driveway, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna stop and pee behind the church. Hi, kitty. My cat's staring at me from outside. You can't come in. Sorry. And so I get out, and I don't know how or why, but we go into the church, and we go underneath the basement, another basement dream, and it's this whole different world. It's this underground place, and it's all dark. It's got like black stone walls, and the floor is kind of like a creek bed. It's stone, and there's like a very small amount of water, and there's like some moss growing here and there, and some little baby ferns, and there are some edible mushrooms that we gather. And it is soon, like, my friends are no longer there. It's just myself, my lover, and this third person, this I don't know, this like Norwegian dude that was our friend. He was wearing, actually what he was wearing looked kind of like a priest outfit. It was had a high collar, and it was all black, and he had very bright blonde hair that was long, kind of shaggy and wavy, and he had bright blue eyes. And he was a teenager, like I don't know, 17 or 18. And we were the same age we are now. And we realized that we're trapped in this place. And so we discovered that these are edible mushrooms. They look kind of like chanterelles. So we start gathering mushrooms, and then we're like figuring out, okay, how the heck are we going to get out of this place? So it's this big square room. And then in the front of the square, there's this wide hallway that leads into another square room. And we looked in there, and if you look up, it's a very, very high ceiling, but at regular ceiling height, there are these big, thick planks going across the it's kind of a mix, like rafters. That's the word I'm looking for. So bright. And there is, at the very front, there's this huge upside down cross, and there's this very strange creature on it, and it looks really real, but at the same time it also looks like an art fixture. So we're just like, oh, let's just not go in there. And there is this big giant coffin. It looks like a cross between a coffin and a treasure chest. And I had this like flashback vision of this woman. It was an old crone mother, and she was like checking on her son that was some sort of antichrist savior, and she was like, oh, are you risen from the dead yet? Nope, guess not. Clunk. And so I was like, oh yeah, definitely don't want to go in there, because I'm pretty sure the antichrist is in there, and that's totally not okay. And pretty sure he would eat us. And there was a bunch of like black church pews, and it still had that the floor wasn't a floor, it was a creek bed with very, very shallow water and pebbles and uneven surfaces. And so back to the main room we were in, and we were gathering mushrooms, and we ate them. There was on one side of the wall, we noticed that there was an indentation in the wall with a surface that you could use as a shelf. And there was paper, and there was a whole bunch of paintbrushes, and there was black paint. And so we talked for a while. We talked about how to get out of this place, and we had just kind of wasted a bunch of time gathering mushrooms. Then before we knew it, a whole bunch of time had elapsed, and we had set some cool rocks we found and some mushrooms in this little shallow pool of water. There was a little space right against the wall that was a little circular part where there was a little bit of deeper water pooled. And it wasn't really deep. It was only like, I don't know, 12 inches. And then we looked at that part, and I noticed that there was a pattern in the sand, and it led back underneath the wall. And I thought, oh shit, that means that water has been sucked underneath the wall. And there was only about, I don't know, a half an inch of water left. And I looked all around. Sure enough, just like low tide, it had all been sucked out. And I was like, oh no, you guys, if there's low tide, that means there's high tide. And I'm pretty sure, according to the way this place looks and the wet walls and the way those rafters look, I think this place fills up completely with water and we're trapped here and we're gonna drown. And we were trying not to panic, because if you panic, then you can't find a way out. So the three of us split up and start finding some kind of lever or something to get out of there. And oddly enough, I find a bathroom, and this dream had a lot to do with peeing. I got up to pee countless times last night, and every time I got up and went to the bathroom in real waking life, I'd go back to bed and fall back asleep and go right back into the stream, right where I left off. And this bathroom was all black, and it looked like an old church bathroom. I don't know if you've been in any, but I've been in several growing up Catholic. It looked exactly like something I would remember being from one of the old, crusty old churches. So I'm looking around in there, and there's no windows, or actually, scratch that, I'm sorry, there are windows. There's a long, narrow window, but it's somehow unbreakable or something rather, or I'm trying to remember this. I think perhaps at first the window wasn't there, and then I found the switch. Yes, that's it. There's this light switch, and I got an idea, and I thought, well, we're looking for a lever, maybe behind all of the light switch stuff, there's something behind there. So I start taking it apart with my hands and digging my fingers in the socket, and which is probably not a good idea. And but I take it apart, and there's this like indentation in the wall that goes pretty far back, and I go, aha, I found it. And I call my lover and my friend, and I'm like, hey, you guys, I think I found the way out. And at this point, the water is getting about chest deep, and they're freaking out. And I think the Antichrist creature type of thing is awakening in the other part of the room, and so we're really getting in a hurry by now. And I gain a little bit of lucidity, and I think this lever isn't really working, but I want it to work, and I'm controlling it. And I'm gonna make this work, because I know that I'm dreaming, or at least a little bit. I know that I have a little bit of control, and I want to control this situation and this scene. So I'm trying to get that to work. Meanwhile, my lover's trying to help me, and our friend is in the other room against the wall. The water's coming in from underneath the wall and rising up, and he grabs a paintbrush, and he painted some big weird message on the wall. It was it must have been Latin. It said omnia something rather. I don't know. I don't even know if that's an actual Latin word, but it was OMNIA and then a bunch of other stuff. And then Hermione Granger pops in, and she tells my friend, she's like an apparition, and she tells him, this is unnecessary, you're going to get trapped, you don't need to sacrifice yourself, they're going to find a way out, and you're never going to come back from this, and you're not the evil one, you don't have to become the evil one to save your friends, they can do it on their own, and they can save you too. And he looks at her and he goes, it's too late. I've already begun the process, and there is no other way to save my friends. I must become the evil one, and I must drown myself. So then they're plunged underwater, and Hermione Granger is like floating underwater. Her hair is floating, and she's looking at him all concerned, and there's like water shadows across her face, and um, he's got the same thing going on. He's floating. His hair is floating all around him, and then that strange Antichrist creature that was this hodgepodge of like a pig and a goat and a really malformed human, and it was floating in the water. Like, we turned around, and from his view, it was like right in front of his face. It was classic horror movie scare tactic. It was really cool, and for some reason I wasn't scared in my dream. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. How creative of my dream brain. And so he looks at the creature, and I think they then become one, and he doesn't leave the water. I guess this creature, like, this happens every day, and I don't know what the creature does. The creature awakens when this place gets flooded, and I don't know. But this guy let him possess him and let them become one, and he was able to have more control than this creature thought, and so he stayed in the water, and they drowned together. And then the dream scene changed for a minute, and there was, in that other room, I saw this black church service. There was black candles everywhere, and there was that crone mother thing, and she opened up the chest coffin, and there was another one inside of it, and she opened up that one, and there was another one inside of it, and she was like, "Where are you, son? Where are you?" It was so chilling. And there was a black priest there, and I don't mean he was a black guy and he was a priest. I mean, it was like black as in some kind of theistic, satanic service. And then that scene went away again, and it was back to myself and my lover in the bathroom trying to figure stuff out. And so I decided, through lucidity, this lever is going to work some way or another, and this is going to get us out. And I was very calm about it, and I was very confident about it. And then that's when that like long, narrow window showed up, and I thought, I don't know if that's enough for us to get through, but we're both pretty slim and flexible, so we're gonna make this happen. So I grab like the light fixture and I start kicking it, and it's not working so well, and so I have to really concentrate on the lucidity in my dream to make it work. So we eventually kick the dream window open, and we get through it, and then my lover disappears, and it's just myself in this dream. And I look around, and I'm like, oh, phew, I made it out, I'm safe now. And then I have this very strong feeling that I'm not safe, that there are these massive creatures out. And I look around, and it's a forest. It's a pretty dense forest, and there's trees of various sizes. And I think I definitely need to climb one of these trees for safety. And so I climb up a tree, and then a couple trees over, I see a much, much thicker tree, and I notice that somebody has taken some branches and laid it across some other branches as like a little platform to sit on. And I think, uh-oh, somebody else has been here before me. They're no longer here, so who knows if they actually made it out alive. And it appears as though these creatures come out at night when this flood happens also, and they can't climb the trees or something. I don't know. So I get up there and I look around, and there's a couple of different things on the ground. So I look around to see if I'm safe, and I'm like, okay, I need to gather a couple of other things for myself while I'm hanging out up there. And I'm pretty sure that I only have a few moments before these creatures come out. So I get down to ground level again, and I see several other young people come out, and they're trapped in this world too. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Where are we? What do we do? I'm scared. And then I tell them my theory of that we need to be up in the trees for safety because there are these creatures that are going to come out. And I look down, and I'm wearing this tactile belt, and I've got a couple of tools, and I've got a machete and a big flashlight, and the big buff leader dude of their clan is like eyeballing my tools. And I look him in the eye and I say, if I see you looking at my tools and I even think your hand is reaching for them, I will not hesitate to cut your hand off, even if we are on the same side. So don't even fucking think about it. He looks at me all like, man. But I was like, I don't care if you're human or not. I will kill you, motherfucker. So we start hearing these noises like, and these like big stomping noises, and the ground is kind of shaking. I'm like, whoa, whatever's coming after us is pretty big. We better get up in the trees. So we scramble up in the trees, and there's some people that are having a really hard time getting up, and a few ladders appear, and everyone just scrambles for the ladder. There's no teamwork, there's no helping each other, and I'm just kind of witnessing that, like, wow, you guys aren't even helping each other. You're just fighting over the ladder, and that's taking even longer instead of helping each other get up. So that sucks. So we're all scrambling up into the biggest tree, and we're all kind of crowded in it, barely hanging on because there's barely enough room. And these, like, up the middle of the tree crawls this pale, wet-looking, it looks like Alien from Alien versus Predator, only it's very fleshy instead of machine-like at all, or alien-like in that futuristic way. It looks like some creature from the depths of the sea, and it's white and kind of grayish and fleshy looking, and it's a baby of the big creatures that are coming out. And we decide, I guess the babies are able to climb the trees, but the adults can't. So they send the babies after to get us, but the babies are they're kind of slow, and they can't kill you just by themselves. But the thing is, these creatures have babies really quickly, and so they multiply so fast that they can make enough babies to overwhelm you, and so then you have like 20 of them on you, and then they can kill you or like knock you out of the trees. But as long as you're fighting them off by like 2 or 3 at a time, you can keep up with them and kill them. So I've got my machete, and I start hacking its head off, and it looks like tasty salmon inside. I thought that was really interesting. I thought there would be like guts and gooey stuff. Nope. Looked like nice, fresh, red salmon meat. And I was like, oh, yum, salmon. That looks good. Weird. Hack, hack, hack. So I hacked that one. I hacked another one. And people start falling out of the trees and dying because the adult creatures eat them. And then there's a new threat that comes out, and then all the creatures run away, and we're like, oh, phew, that's so good. Wait a minute, that's not good. If they're scared, all of a sudden, what's coming next? And there are these big giants that I'm quite sure my brain got from Attack on Titan, which is a crazy anime series. And so the Attack on Titan giants come out, and I am terrified of the giants in that anime series. They really, really creep me out. Way creepier than the malformed Antichrist creature, even though that was pretty scary. Way scarier than the weird pale alien creatures. These things are so scary to me, and I'm not sure why. But look it up, Attack on Titan. It's an anime series. maybe they'll creep you out too. And so they're coming around and they're going to eat people, just like in the anime series. And I guess, oh, and just like in the anime series, they climb up trees to be safe. And they're like, they can't climb trees, but they're like, hey, calm down. They can't talk, but they're like banging on the tree trunks. And a couple of the people get shaken out and they fall to the ground. And so they pick them up and go, and they eat them. And every time, like, they would get eaten, and then those people would get turned into those big giants, and then they would try to attack us. And at one point, there was a team of these giants, and they were sports team themed. It was a co-ed football team, and then they had this woman that was a coach. She had short blonde hair and a whistle, and I'm pretty sure they were actually cartoon, now that I think about it. I think this was a mixed cartoon and like live action dream. She would blow her whistle and she would command them to do an exercise, and then they would straight arm jump up and down, jump up and down, jump up and down, and it would stomp and shake the ground and make these massive indentations in the ground. And then she'd like, all right, stomp them. And then they went out and tried to find as many humans on the ground that they could to stomp them and smash them into the ground and kill them. It was super terrifying. And then the dream scene changed, and I was in my childhood home, and it was still this threat with these creatures, but it was at the time of day where they weren't out yet, and they were just waking up, and I barely had time to get to a safe spot. And there my house in this part of the dream was huge. Everything was as if a giant lived there, and I was this puny tiny little creature. And so I was in the laundry room, and the washing machine was like 20 feet tall. It was like the size of a damn building. And there was all these big, like this big around tree trunks that had no branches on them. They had all been cut off. And I said, oh, I just need a rope. I need to tie them together, and then I can climb that, prop it against the laundry machine, and that could be my fighting place. And there was this Japanese woman in there, and she was telling me, she's like, I've already decided there's not enough room for both of us, and I'm just not coming with you. And I was devastated. I felt like this person was some sort of mother figure, and I just couldn't imagine living without her. But she was like, there's no time to argue about this, and I've made my decision, and it's my decision to make and not yours, so please honor me and respect my decision, because if you fight me on this and we both die, then what good is that? And I'm going to do this anyway. And she just kept repeating that it is my choice, it is not your choice to make, this is my life, so don't disrespect me. And she said, I found cookies and a beer. You might as well drink this beer, because you might not make it either. And I fucking hate beer. And it was a Rolling Rock, which is like pretty much carbonated piss as far as I'm concerned. So she gives me this carbonated can of piss and a couple of these giant cookies, and I tuck them into my armpit, and I wrap rope around these two trees to get them to like be one bigger tree, and I prop it up against this 20-foot tall washing machine, and I shimmy up that stuff, and I've got my black machete, and I'm just waiting for the titans, or these giants, to come and battle them. And she distracts them and tries to get them out of the house as they come out of their sleeping spots or whatever, and then I hear her get killed violently, and then I really have to pee. I have to pee really bad. I eat one of the cookies, and it was a really good cookie. It was still kind of warm, and the chocolate chips were still gooey. It was fucking awesome. Even in the dream, I was like, damn, the cookies are still kind of warm. This is fresh as fuck. But I couldn't shake the fact that I had to pee. And I'm like, maybe I should just pee on top of this washing machine. But then I guess I had to pee in real waking life. And so I woke up and went to the bathroom, and I couldn't fall back asleep because by then it was about 7 a.m. and I couldn't fall back to sleep. And I was so disappointed because all throughout the night, I probably gotten up to go to the bathroom like 4 times. More than 3 times. Definitely 4 times. Maybe even 5 times. I drank so much water. I've been having some kidney twinges, and that's really concerning me. So I'm taking some kidney supplements and like flushing supplements, and I'm drinking a heck ton of water. This was like about halfway full, maybe a little bit more, and I drank it all throughout the night. So every time I woke up, I would drink a bunch. So that's why I was getting up so much. But yeah, that was the dream. If I had been able to go back to sleep, I definitely would have been able to go back into that dream and finish the battle. But I don't know. That's my dream. If you had any dreams, I would absolutely love to hear anything that you remember. Leave it in the comments below, or find me on Instagram at beneath.the.roses. There's a period between each word. All right, those are my dreams. Bye.